Cool. Thank you. Hey, Ziryan, how are you today?
I'm looking forward to this talk, and especially I'm very happy that we are doing it early in the morning because I have a flight to catch to see you live in person. So I'm very happy to be here. And unfortunately, it's not live because just a few months ago I was in Kaunas, which was amazing. By the way, this is also free advertising. Sorry for that, but the conference was amazing as well, just like this one.
So what's in your mind today, Ziryan? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Actually, there's one of our clients who's providing a training, and their Scrum Masters are providing a training, and this is something that I've been thinking about for a while, and this is also how the idea um, came up for us to talk more about this. Is actually what we see Scrum Masters do usually is they are too engaged. And we
Hmm.
notice that being too engaged doesn't support self-management. So, and my statement is always, I don't give a shit about everything. Oh, that was a peak moment, by the way. Why should we give a shit about stuff? Um, so yeah, and I want to have a conversation with you about this. Let's see how you feel about accountabilities of Scrum Master, about stuff,
Yeah.
and let's see how the audience thinks about it.
Well, yeah, you kind of want to be in that space where you don't want to be worrying about it. And I'm changing the way that we're talking about it. Don't want to be concerned because we see that, a vast majority of teams fail to reach their potential because they're scared to accept the responsibility for their own actions. 78% fail to reach their full potential because they're not self-managing. And what we want to do as Scrum Masters, Agile leaders, is to create an environment in which people are self-managing, because that's when we see the true benefits of having an Agile approach. When we care about self-management, we can then start to look into the other areas of what a Scrum Master should be doing. And self-managing doesn't mean running riots. It doesn't mean not caring. It doesn't mean we get to decide absolutely everything. It has boundaries. Self-managing teams have boundaries in which they have to operate because the rest of the world is continuing. But think about where you are right now, and this is to everybody that's on this call. And if you're in a self-managing team, can you select your own team, select your own tooling, that you use within your organization, or is it dictated to you? Do you decide the length of the sprint, or is that dictated to you? I'm working with a client at the moment, and everyone's being told they're working on 2 weekly sprints, and they're going, but we can't build anything. So how is that self-managing? Decide on what and when do they do the work. Again, self-managing. And often we see people wanting or so used to being spoon-fed this kind of dripping feeding of work, but they should be able to decide the tooling, the length of time, and when they do the work. And also, they don't need to wait for approval around decisions. They're not waiting for so-and-so across in sector 7G to tell them what to do. Or have we, but they didn't have the authority to make a decision. And here's a real key. Here's a key one that was like, if I see this, it's like, yes, I'm in the land of self-managing. Can they hire their own team members? Can they see that something's missing? Can they go out and hire somebody? Do they have the authority? Do they have the ability to be able to do that? And that's really what we're talking about in self-managing. And once you've got a team that's in that space, wow, that's an amazing, powerful space to be.
Yeah.
And Ziri and I, we were talking about this, and we see four areas of four aspects that will help get to this. And this is what we're going to be covering over the next few minutes. First one's culture. What's the culture like within the organization, within the team? What are the behaviors? What can you see? What can't you see? The next one is following a framework. Now, we're Scrum people. Scrum's a framework, but we don't really care if you follow Scrum or not. Now, that's quite controversial.
Did
What
you
we do,
did you by the way mention that we are also professional Scrum trainers and teach
yes,
Scrum? Okay, okay.
and also Kanban, but that's another conversation. But what we do care is if you do it, you do it well, you do it right, not half bothered about it. We also we see continuous improvement. You know, how is the team continuously improving, and also are we delivering value? Um, so Zirian, let's start with culture. Let's start
Yeah.
with culture.
So
Now,
the first statement is actually, I believe, not giving a shit about culture enables self-management.
yeah.
So what do you think about that, Steve? When
Well,
I tell you
we
this?
can't tell these good people what the culture should be. They need to work it through. They need to get through that mire of,
Mm.
that's what we've always done. This worked for us, so we have to do it this way. So, but it's a shared knowledge within the team
Mm-hmm.
of what it means to operate in the team. It's that human connection of this is what it feels like within the team and outside the team, shared understanding, a shared understanding of how we deal with conflict. I mean, Ziryan, you must have come across conflict in your past. That's an assumption. You must have seen examples of teams in conflict and
Yeah,
how they deal with it.
yeah, and that's a funny thing because I always relate to it. Okay, so how do I do it as a Scrum Master when it comes to conflict, right? I most of the times they look at me to resolve stuff, right? They look at me, two team members, they are bickering about stuff, and they want me to solve things.
Yeah,
And what I always see Scrum Masters is they indeed solve these problems. And every time I coach them, I'm like, oh no, why do you solve these things?
yeah,
This is not helping you and your team to become more self-managing. It's not. It's in the short run, it is because everybody feels happy and everybody goes drink together. Um, but you know, it's not lasting. So don't give an f about this culture. But I'm also curious, Steve, because this is of course we are talking about professional Scrum environment, right?
yes,
But this culture is also about other stuff. And the last time you spoke about Manchester United.
yeah. Well, really what we're kind of talking about is, I mean, yes, we all work in IT, but culture exists in many, many different places, many different teams, external, internal, at your home, outside, those kinds of things. And you can have good culture and toxic culture. And it often comes from the leadership down of what kind of culture you can have or you're actually living in, those behaviors.
Yeah.
And Rio Ferdinand, when he was playing at Manchester United, now it's quite hard for me to say because I'm a Leeds United fan, so kind of a rival, but a long time ago we were rivals. But anyway, different story. Um, Rio was talking on a podcast called the High Performance Podcast, and I thoroughly recommend people to check it out. And they asked, hey, when you joined Manchester United, this big club, this big name, this big known, I don't want to say brand, but there's a certain way of playing football. Did Alec Ferguson sit you down and tell you how to play? Did he tell you what it means to play for Manchester United? Did
Mm-hmm.
he tell you what was acceptable behavior? Did he tell you what was unacceptable? Did he tell you, that you turn up 10 minutes before the start of training and you stay later than the end to practice? Did he tell you any of that? And he said, no, I didn't. He didn't tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
That was reinforced. Those messages came down from the existing players that were there. At one stage, Alec would have said that to his players. This is what I expect.
Mm-hmm.
This is how Manchester United plays.
Yeah.
But it was the existing players that sat him down and said, this is what we find as acceptable behavior. This is Manchester United. This is what it means. We run back as a collective. We don't hold people up front and we don't do that. You stay back and you practice after the training session is finished. And also, if you think, you say you've got Manchester United, and I have to talk about Manchester City in some respects. If you think about Barcelona, it does link, believe me. So early 2000s, Barcelona, they'd won every competition going, but they lost their way.
Mm.
And so the way to get their way back, and they'd lost the culture. They lost the culture of winning. Was they brought in Pep Guardiola,
Yeah.
and roughly the same, about the time he wasn't as famous as he was then, and this is when he was making his name. They spent at a time a record amount of fee on Zlatan Ibrahimovic,
Yeah.
70 million euro plus other things. Now Zlatan was a name, and they were going to build a team around Zlatan.
Mm-hmm.
And Pep pulled Zlatan to one side on the very first day he was there and said, "Here's the keys to your club car." And he said, "What do you mean with my club car? I've got a car." Yeah, yeah. Look where you are. Look where the club is based. Look at how poor this area is. If you turn up in your Porsche, if you're Ferrari, you are setting yourself different from these people here. And these people are the club. You have to appreciate that. Zlatan accepted the car. Fine. Drives in. 8 months into his contract within Barcelona, he gets dropped. It's the very first time. He's put on the bench. Zlatan's nose is seriously put out of joint. So what does Zlatan do? The very next training session, he turns up in his Ferrari. He's basically sticking two fingers up at the culture, at what it means to play at Barcelona.
Yeah.
Not long after that, Zlatan has moved on. He didn't fit into the culture that Pep was creating, trying to create at Barcelona as this commitment culture. So the leadership sets and demonstrates the culture for the rest of the team. And knowing the environment and what's acceptable is really key. Knowing the rules is really key. So within your team, please don't be afraid to be disruptive. Maybe getting rid of the star, maybe moving in a different direction, because it could help create that culture that that you're going for, that you don't have to worry about.
No.
So
and this is something, Steve, that I find interesting, because both of them are act of leadership, right?
Yeah.
Because Pep Guardiola, removing your star player, firing your star player, that was an act of leadership. While at the same time, I would argue that I prefer Alec Ferguson
Yeah.
style.
How come?
Well, if you look at it, the Pep Guardiola was actually the keeper of the culture. If he would be ill, if he would be gone, if he would be whatever, the culture would collapse. And that's where the difference is with Manchester United under Alec Ferguson. The players, everyone around him, they were the keepers of the culture. So basically, I can imagine that Pep Guardiola was thinking the whole time, okay, is everyone obeying by the rule? So worrying the whole time if the culture remains, if every step they take, if it's the right thing that fits the culture, yes or no.
Now, it's interesting you say that, because later on, and this isn't just to talk about football, folks, later on, Alec Ferguson changes. At the start, he was saying nobody is bigger than Manchester United. Later on, Alec Ferguson says nobody's bigger than the manager of Manchester United. So that culture starts changing.
Yeah.
And you need to just keep checking in, going, hey, are we still on the same way? And a way that you can keep checking in is by using common values.
Yeah.
And we're Scrum. Hey, I'm going to put you on the spot. What are the Scrum values there, Ziryan? You should know this.
I know, of course. Okay, don't hold me up. Commitment, focus, respect, openness, and wait. Okay, openness, focus, commitment, respect, courage. That's my favorite.
Yes, well done. I was just thinking. Hey, but the thing is, I know this topic is, I don't give it about. But I remember the commitments by using an acronym called FOCA: focus, openness, courage, commitment, respect. And I'm not saying the word you think I'm saying. So, understanding and having those common values and having it wrapped in a framework, it enables certain conversations to happen. And we have to have those because we have these values. We have to have those conversations because we have these values. Now, like earlier on, we said that we don't really care if you read the Scrum Guide and you don't follow it. We don't care about that. What we do care about is if you are doing Scrum and following any framework, you follow the framework as it's intended. And what we do see, teams moving away from the self-managing aspect is doing mechanical Scrum. Or do mechanical processes, not really fully understanding the why, just going through the motions. And, this is the kind of similar thing we see often where we have a daily Scrum versus daily stand-up. Daily stand-up comes from extreme programming. Daily Scrum, that coming together of a team as a unit to work their way towards a goal, there's a different meaning. Stand-up, we're reporting in, Scrum, coming together. So if you're going to use the framework, use it correctly. And as a Scrum Master, you want to make sure that the team understands the framework they're employing. But once they understand it, you don't want to be going in there. I mean, a true leader demonstrates the worth of it because it's lasting change. It's lasting change that exists.
You know what happens often is that we see Scrum Master or Agile coaches, whatever, who are working within the Scrum framework is that either they are coaching too much or they are being the Scrum police. They are being really rigid about the framework, about everything. Well, the framework should help you become more self-managing. Yeah. So where we say don't give a shit about the framework, we actually mean, make sure everybody knows the outcome of the events of what you want to do so that you don't worry about it anymore. And let me give you an example of my son. My son is now 7 years old, and he started playing football. And by the way, I'm so happy that it's a European conference, so I don't have to correct myself and say soccer, so that people. But he's playing football, and we are helping him understand the rules. We are helping him to say, okay, you cannot touch it with your hand. You cannot hit someone. This is how it goes. This is where the defenders are. This is where the attackers are. This is the lines where, as a goalie, you are allowed to touch it with your hands. So we are helping him to understand the framework, understand why it is like that. But eventually, also as Scrum Masters, we need to let go, because when he turns 16, for example, and he's playing, I don't want to be bothered with all the rules of the football framework, I want them to, because if they are not worried about it, if I'm not worried about it, they can really think about the tactics. They can really think about the strategy in play, because all the basics are the same. They already know it. So my job and the trainer's job and the coach job is to make sure that they understand the basic rules and that they understand how to act, so they self-manage in the during the game, how to score, how to win.
I was just thinking about you jumping into the pitch and explaining the offside rule when he was 16. So that's going to be a complicated conversation to have.
I see sometimes coaches and managers, they are really angry because for the 8th time in one match the striker hits offside. Like, when that is on your mind, right? Yeah. When it's on your mind, okay, will the attacker be offside or not? You're not thinking about the important stuff. You're not thinking about a strategy. You're not thinking about, okay, so how does the other team play? And this is exactly the same thing for us as Scrum Masters, right? I don't want to be worried about the framework. I want everyone to understand the desired outcome. I want them to understand the goals of the event, the artifacts, why they are there, how it enables self-organization and empiricism. Yeah, that's what I want them to do, but I cannot do it on day one, right? Because I have to help them with it.
And linking back into the analogy of the football, and I didn't realize Pep Guardiola was going to appear so many times in this conversation. What he has said previously is that he helps his teams understand how he wants to play the game. So as a Scrum Master, hey, this is how I want us to interact. I want us to have open conversations. I want us to do X, Y, and Z. I want us to increase transparency, reduce risk. Pep is saying, I want us to play flowing football out from the front. I want us to be running as a collective. I want us to be looking for that next ball, not even worrying where the player is. What he says is, once the players get onto the pitch, I can't influence the team. No. I can only hope that they have taken into account what I have told them previously. I mean, he can influence, he can bring substitutions and all that kind of stuff, but it's minor. And again, Scrum Masters, minor changes on the side. And this is why I'm going on this side here, just doing those little changes. But when in that moment, you want the team to be able to go, what is the right thing?
You know, one of the best teams I've had, and I was so proud. They changed the timing of the daily scrum from the morning to the afternoon.
Yeah,
all by themselves. Like, yay! They even
self-managing.
Yeah, they even changed the sprint. They proposed to change the sprint, and we all decided together. Well, usually what we see happening is, oh yeah, Scrum Master, can we please change the sprint length? Well, if that happens to me, then I know that something needs to be done in self-managing that, because I do care about it.
Yeah,
but I want to not be involved in it, because they can do it themselves.
Yeah, I mean, what we're talking about there is continuous improvement. We're looking at the process. We're looking at where we are, what's working, what's not working. We feel comfortable and confident to go, hey, this isn't working. Let's change the duration of the sprint. And, you know, that continuous improvement, we have retros, retrospectives, and what we're talking about, or what we're not talking about here, is, you know, the happy, sad, you know, glad, whatever, retro, what worked well, that kind of stuff. What we're talking about is actually getting in, and this really links into that culture place about having open conversations and respectful conversations. And I'm going to touch upon psychological safety, and that doesn't mean we can say whatever we want. It's just because there's always repercussions, there's always things coming back on us. It's, we feel comfortable that if there are actions that come out from that, we can deal with it. So there is this whole idea of this continuous improvement. And again, I mean, have you heard of what Pixar does, Ziryan? This brain trust.
No.
So the brain trust idea at Pixar is they get all the directors together in a room, and they look at the latest film and that they're creating. And they come in as equals, and this is the hardest thing that they that whole structural organization. They come in as equals, and they're breaking that away. This structural hierarchy. You know, you can have your boss in there, you can have your boss's boss in there, but they're coming in as peers, and they are looking at the process, the product, what's happening within the film, how it's panning out, how it's working out, and they give honest feedback.
Yeah.
Now, Ed Cattermole, CEO of Pixar, was saying, he says, are they actually saying what they think, or are they holding back in the sake of not embarrassing somebody, or being embarrassed if they say something that the rest of their peers go, what? So how honest is that feedback? So if you think about the culture, you know, what is that saying about this team? They can give honest and open feedback, and there's no repercussions on whatever they say. There is no authority in the brain trust. They say it as they see it. Yeah. And they're not in a defensive mode. So what ends up happening is the fact that you end up getting a true state of the product, the state of where we are, from people that know best.
Yeah. And I think this also links to they really want to improve their product, right?
Yeah.
So it's in their veins. They know, okay, we need to be brutally honest here to make our product better. So that's in the genes. They actually want it. And this actually reminds me of when we start our training. Right? Actually, I don't give a shit if the students learn or not.
No.
Which is kind of strange, because the whole purpose of the training is to gain more knowledge. But what we say in the beginning, we tell them, you are accountable for your learning outcomes. not us as trainers. We already know most of the material anyway. So you're not here for us. You're here for yourself. This is your learning opportunity. Everything you do reflects on your learning and learning of the rest of the group. So basically, having said that, I don't give a shit about you learning or not. Enables me to focus on the important stuff.
Yeah.
Enables us to focus on, okay, so is there an environment where they can openly talk to each other? Do we have enough silence and reflection moments to really capture the essence of what they are doing? So no PowerPoints, no nothing. Are they continuously engaged in order to learn? What they learn, I don't have any effect on it.
No.
So it's all up on them, because that's and that's what I hope most Scrum Masters also think about, that if I'm there or not there, the team is continuously looking for improvements within the organization, within the team.
Mm.
Because usually the Scrum Master is looked up on, okay, Scrum Master, you tell us what improvements we need to do, or you facilitate that we can start improving ourselves. And if the Scrum Master is not there for this for the sprint retrospective, yeah, maybe we can skip it. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's been a long sprint anyway, right? It's been a
Let's
tough
get that
sprint.
hour back.
Let's
It's
get
going to
that
be
hour
something.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then okay, there's stuff I need to do. You want to not give a shit about continuous improvement. You want to be able to go on a holiday and not think about, okay, will they keep improving themselves, right?
Yeah. There's a saying that was I read in Lisa Radkin's book, Coaching Agile Teams. It's Corrigan from 2006. Everything you do for the team is one thing less that they know they can do for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's just stayed with me. You know, if you keep stepping in, resolving conflict,
Yeah.
making sure they're doing the framework, making sure they're improving, making sure that it's one thing less that their team realize that they don't know they can do for themselves. You're not there to wipe their noses. You're there to make sure that they're being professional, that they're delivering value, that they're doing, the right thing.
True.
So, and delivering value kind of brings us on to quite nicely, segueing in. We don't give a shit about creating value.
You said it.
I
Very good.
know, I
Very good,
know.
Steve.
We've got to the endish bit, and there is a thin line. There's a thin line of being of not being involved, kind of distant from it, and not giving a shit. We need to deliver value.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that, as a Scrum team, we're here to deliver value. Ziryan, have you any experiences of what you've seen where teams are kind of doing everything but they're not delivering the value?
That just a few weeks ago, I had this peak moment and then fell all the way. I was talking to a Scrum team at a client I'm currently supporting, and they said, "Hey, Ziryan, we just had an awesome sprint review." Oh, cool. Yeah, we had our MVP and the customers. We had like 80 customers in a sprint review, and they were all so happy. And I got all excited. I was, yes, finally, finally. And then I asked them, okay, so do you have the link? How can I access it? Oh, no, Syrian, but it's not on production. I was like, oh man, puff. And that was a moment for me that I got in. Okay, I let go too soon.
Yeah.
You know, I need to give a shit about it again, because this is not creating any value. I need to help them understand how important it is to frequently release and to frequently actually challenge our assumptions, right?
Yeah.
Validate our assumptions, and saying something, hey, this is what you will get in 3 months. That doesn't work. So for me, that was actually also a wake up call. Okay, I need to give a shit about it again.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that it's not on my mind, so I can focus on other stuff. Because now the whole time in my mind, I'm thinking about, okay, what interventions can I do? What tactics can I can I apply to help the team to really focus on delivering a done increment as soon as possible. So because I'm thinking about that now the whole time, I lose focus to other stuff, and it's really 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 strange because I don't want to be able to think about, are they delivering value? You're a Scrum team. You are delivering value.
Yeah.
That should be the basic, right? So yeah, I have some work to do now.
Yeah. And as a scrum master, at least you now know that hey, that's where my focus needs to be. And this is where we see scrum masters, oh, we need to get this event, we need to do this. And it's like, no, 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 no. You're going to be drifting into the various different conversations over the time. And this is, the switching between the stances of a teacher, between a coach, a mentor, facilitator, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's professional scrum, and being able to recognize, hey, I need to look at culture. There's an issue here. We're not having open conversations. I need to look at the framework. There's an issue here. I need to make sure that people are actually having valuable events. Hey, I need to look at how we're improving. Do we have trust within the team that we can actually have those honest conversations? Or are we just going through the motions of going, yeah, happy, sad, glad, retros? Are we delivering value? The reason why we're here is to deliver value, maximize the value. And we only know if we deliver value by releasing and getting it out there. So as a scrum master, you're going to be drifting in and out between those things. So, we want to leave you with this. What is the thing that you don't want to give a shit about? And apologies for swearing. So think of it as a call to action. We've highlighted 4 areas that we believe which will help encourage that self-management behavior, that the fact that the team feel comfortable in selecting their own tools, that they decide their sprint length, that they can decide what to work on and when, that they don't need approval from somebody, and ultimately, could they hire somebody into the team? So where do you, as a Scrum Master, Agile coach, Agile leader, as a team member, because remember, you're in this as well, where do you want to not give a shit about? Actually, I love the way I mouthed a bit, but actually said the swear word there, so forgive me. So where do you want to focus your attention? What do you not want to care about? So there's our call to action to you. Ziryan, I'm going to leave it up to you to wrap up. Is there anything you want to say before we say goodbye to these lovely people?
I am very curious about what people think about this format, about actually the statement of not giving a shit enables self management.
Cool.
Yeah. So if there are any questions, please let us know.
Yeah.
We do.
And if you do, before I was going to say, and if you do want to find us online, please feel free to link into us. I think I'm the only Steve Traps on LinkedIn, and Ziryan is probably the only Ziryan as well. There are our faces.
There are more Ziryans. There's one Ziryan Salayi.
Oh, I like it. So look, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. And thank you for listening.
This is a moment where we clap, right?
So much. Yeah, it's like clapping sounds right now. We do have one question in Uva. What's the difference between not giving it and allowing toxic behavior?
Yeah. Maybe that's toxic behavior is never allowed.
Yeah.
That's something that we should really take action into, because but the thing is that you don't want to be worried about this behavior, right? That everybody knows what the behavior is, that the team members can correct each other, just like within Manchester United, right? The players themselves, they know what the culture is, and basically if you look at it, as a scrum master, you're only one person, but the whole scrum team, the whole organization, are a lot more people to hold you accountable, not to have toxic behavior. But when it happens, so this is something. Not giving a shit doesn't mean you don't have to evaluate and you have to be aware of it. It means that, okay, everything goes well, so you can focus on other stuff. But at the moment that you find, hey, there's toxic behavior, and the team is not able to manage it themselves, this is a moment where you need to take action.
Yeah.
Need to take action now. And in the long run, you need to have a conversation, because obviously you do need to give a shit about the culture, because the Scrum values are hurting here. So you need to start paying more attention to it until the moment that you don't give a shit about it anymore.
Yeah. For me, not giving a shit means you're not worried about it. It's taken care of. It's the team have got it. You care about it, and it's still very precious to you, but you're not worried about it. You know that it's going to be handled. Like as Ziryan says, toxic behavior needs to be addressed as soon as you see it, because it will eat the health of a team.
Yeah. Let me give an example of again, children. They are going to school now, and our oldest 7-year, he wants to cycle to school by himself. If I allow it now, oh man, I would, my heart would be pounding. I would every minute I would run after him, making sure he doesn't see me. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that he understands and learns how to go to school by himself, that he knows when to stop before the street. And once I'm confident that he knows that, I can just relax. I can relax and sit back. Oh yes, oh you're going to school. Oh, I don't care how you go to school. If you take the bike or walking, I know he will get to school eventually. And that's when you do. But when he has an accident, for example, that means okay, I need to help him again. Or when he is late for school, okay, I hope he doesn't get into an accident. But when he gets late to school, that means okay, so I need to take care again.
Yeah. Did that help?
The people who asked.
Yes, cool, good.
Yes, it did.
Is there any other questions?
Just for the participants to know, you can also unmute yourself to ask. That's also allowed here, if there's a need and a question.
I think we've stunned people into silence, I think, Ziryan, with us swearing so early in the morning.
They're not giving a shit about this presentation, I think, which is a good thing. We found out
they don't care about it, or they're not worried about it. Or yeah,
no, they're not worried about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to take that. They're not worried about the presentation.
I do have a question about the culture part, because I can imagine that majority of the time it's from the upper management, some culture aspects that team have to kind of align with. It depends, of course, on a company, but that's what I noticed.
Yeah.
With teams, maybe you have some experience or some examples how to navigate when specific culture rules and values are from upper management led down to the team, because then you don't have this much freedom to create your own set of yeah, you have to align all these values to the upper management.
Yeah, it does become difficult. But just because the culture is coming down from, and I'm assuming, because this is where I've been, like a poor culture. This is where a Scrum Master, as a coach, is then coaching outside of the team and showing those why that culture could be detrimental, delivering value, why it could be actually hurting the organization, and help those people see how things could be different.
Yeah. There was this time because we've been in these situations a lot, right? But if we look at the values of organizations, they're usually just one statement, right? There's just we collaborate. All right, we respect each other. Okay, so what a good thing to do is sit down with the team or with the teams and figure out, okay, how can we make it actionable? How can we make them actionable? So what does it even mean? What kind of behavior do we show, right? So for some, it might be respectful to wait until everyone is in the meeting, while for others, it might be, okay, it's respectful to start on time. Both are respectful, right? But the key here is to make it transparent and make sure that you make it actionable on what is going on, and then you can have the conversation and collaborate with upper management. Okay, so this is how the culture manifests itself on a daily basis, right? So that would be a good thing to try as well.
Yeah. It is that interesting thing. Do we start the meeting now because everybody's here, or do we start it when a key person's here? It's and it'll differ from organization to country to team kind of thing. But it's what we set up as those rules. But yeah.
Yeah, then you have to align the rules and for everyone to know what is the rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because usually it's just one word, right? Just collaborate. It's just we're open to each other. Okay, very good. It's like copy pasting from all the big organizations because we care about the environment. Okay, good for you. But what does that mean?
Yeah.
How can we make it actionable and then have the discussion with each other? Yeah.
Thank you.